Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, everybody, to the office hours. Sorry I'm a little late. Well, a little late. Early, because it's a weird time, but welcome, everybody. Welcome. Try all of that stuff again. At least I'm not muted this time. I took today off from work specifically because I was going to play Cyberpunk and enjoy myself. I ended up working out all morning and being so exhausted from the workout that I was like, oh, I'll work on the episode for the next Galactic Historian. By the time I finished that, I was like, oh shit, it's 3:30. Welcome, A Corpse. Welcome, Ray. I'm eating a little bit. Sorry, guys. Gotta change some stuff around. So I avoid working at all costs. Hold on. There we go. Show us your wiggle? No. No, Raytheon. No. We rated again? No, it was 39 minutes ago. Alright. Now we're finally open. When I'm eating pizza. Sounds like you need to make a good episode called Bug Smashers and fix the technical differences for your YouTube stream. Ouch! Ouch! That's it's a little burn there, Tinbot. It had nothing to do with YouTube. I had a lot to do with my own dumbass. I was ready to go live, and I deleted my scenes on XSplit or replaced them. Like, god damn it. Alright, let me fix this real quick. This works. Oh yeah. Welcome, everybody. I feel like I'm a little small. Hold on. Bit of a size envy thing going on. Got a little weird of a pixelation as well. Sorry guys, I was literally about to go live and then I realized I deleted all of my scenes when I was trying to save other scenes. I was like, oh, fuck. Oh, no. Why would you hear S60 and you know it? There's nothing on my stream. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Big brain. Big brain on my side. Yep. It's been one of those days. It doesn't have RGB server racks. I haven't done a going live stream. I'm just eating here. I'm sorry for those of you who are watching this later. Like, Paul, what are you doing? Like, I'm eating. All right, it's weird. Bad times. I'm gonna get some food. Skip to the time code in the description if you don't want to see me eating. Yep, exactly. Social eating stream. We're gonna talk about Star Citizen. Pizza, yum, 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 indeed. All right, I'll finish this off and we'll start just talking. That's good. I've been eating healthy all this week. Homemade food and good portions and everything. And I took today off of work, so I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna be a pig. I'm gonna eat bad today. It's okay. Just for you, Max. All right, I'll put the pizza away for a bio break. I'll eat some pizza at that point. Welcome everybody. Welcome to the office hours. About 3 minutes in. It's been okay. It's been a weird year. So I want to start off by thanking like the growth we've had. We have 222 subscribers on Twitch, which is amazing. We're over 12,000 followers on Twitch. I'd like to try to get to 13,000 by the end of next year. We'll see. Growth on Twitch always seems to be slower. People don't tend to follow as much. But then on YouTube. We're about five follows or 5 subscribers away on YouTube from 7,700 subscribers. We've grown to over we had over 550 new subscribers since the IAE, since our lore tours. It's been nuts. And we've had a ton of new Patreons come in. Oh gosh, what else? New people join the Discord. I mean, it's been nuts. Like I have not expected this. Like I was like, where did this come from? Oh right, I'm making content again, like regularly. All right, let's finish up and then. Let's do that as well. All right. I love Uther Riley. It's Uther Riley, by the way. Exclamation point Utho in chat if you are on Twitch. Let me go through this real quick. There's pretzel. Eat the pico? No. No, I'm not eating pico. Why would it's just, no? Why would you want me to eat pico? That's bad. You're horrible. Go for chill. There we go. I'm sitting down between customers to watch the first time for a while. I've had this opportunity. Thank you, Christensen. Welcome, man. So, let's talk. Let's talk a little bit about different things. One of the things I want to talk about was guilds and how they function in Star Citizen, because a lot of people don't realize they exist, like how organizations work in Star Citizen. Board Gamer did a good reading of the Rust Society, but the Rust Society isn't the only group out there And there's also the Haulers Guild, which is different from the Rust Society. There's a bunch of different groups that do different things for different people. So, for instance, another one of the groups is... Let me look up the Vulcan real quickly. It's a group that uses the Vulcan. All right. There it is. Okay. I do like the bar drones, but where are you? Huh. I can't seem to find it. Let me look up one other place, then we'll talk about it real quick. I'm sure someone's screaming at it in chat, like, oh, I know this! I know something that's faster than Paul! Let's go with YouTube, titles, Galactic Historian, logos, images. Logos. I had to make this logo, like, from scratch for the actual episode on it. The Vulcan. The UWC. The United Wayfarers Club. That's what it was called. The United Wayfarers Club is a group it's an organization that will exist in Star Citizen specifically to rescue people on the side of the road, as it were. You're running out of fuel, you're damaged, they come pick you up. There is the kind of like a space AAA. Yep. I have not been to Scotland, no. So it's important to things like the United Wayfarers Club, the Rust Society. These groups are important and will start to become important in the near future with reputation coming in 312. The reason why is because your reputation with them will determine your access to their services as well as missions. Things like the United Wayfarers Club, you probably don't want to piss off if you want to actually call them. Don't work for groups that hate them, that kind of thing. Oh, you're talking about the Perseus. Why does everyone is obsessed with, like, oh, it needs to have a med bay? It's a Connie, guys. It's like an A600i or a Connie. They don't have med bays. The Perseuses don't have med bays. Why? Because they're tiny ships in comparison to other ships out there. Daemon Rally. Daemon Rally's one of the best Star Citizen player run events, period. And any tips? Diablos would be the one to talk about it. But have a good spotter. Every year you have a spotter, someone who navigates for you. You have 2 drivers, which you can swap out. And the navigator is important. I would just find out the route and then run the route yourself and practice it a bunch of times. That's what the best thing you can do. Because you can practice like routes in terms of like which ways are faster, which ways are easier, but it's going to take some time. I was trying to make it funny about how bad the QA setup they have. It's not too bad. It has a Band-Aid locker, yeah. Well, no, see, there are some people who legitimately think that the Hammerhead is a worthless ship unless it has a medical bay, and people also don't realize that medical bays won't do respawns, guys. The only reason why they do respawns right now is because that's where they're at right now. In the future, the only tier of medical bay that'll do a respawn is a Apollo, maybe, and that's going to cost money, if not time. Like, it's going to be complicated. Perseus is a subcapital ship, maybe 6 people. So if you're in time, if you by the time you need a med bay, you'll either be in serious trouble or about to blow up or QG away. Exactly, Pac-Man. Yeah, like the med bay and the Carrack won't do respawns. It's not designed to. Apollo, yeah, definitely an Endeavor, maybe an Apollo, but the hospitals, ground-based hospitals, will be the ones to do the respawns. So, no problem, Primeval. We're in an interesting place when it comes to lore in Star Citizen. There's a lot of potential future stuff, like the Xeno threat invasion, which is gonna happen at some point. It just depends on when and where. And then there's also stuff like, but then we're getting like reputation in the game. But even like if you guys watch the Star Citizen Live, why am I so small here? I just don't like the clearance on the head. There we go. What was I saying? Oh yeah, if you watch the Star Citizen Live, they basically talked about how there's going to be a few groups, mostly bounty hunting guilds, which are going to be the ones that you have a reputation with immediately. And everything else is going to be coming in a slow progression. So it's in a weird place where like the lore is going to start mattering, but it's only going to start mattering for certain people to start with. Mostly combat folks. SCQA, Live QA, John Cruz said that the medical beds were too powerful a gameplay element because they respawn, but they won't in the future. Yeah, exactly, they won't. About the Perseus, been debating with people in Discords that the Perseus is the best function to sit at max range and guard at jump gate, minimal crew, minimal upkeep, slow to maneuver, not good at dealing with multiple threatened angles. Well, it's got 2 pretty well located turrets. So its job is mostly the job of the pilot is mostly to maneuver the ship in a way that the turrets have good angle and shots on where they need to get at. It's not like the Connie where all of its firepower is locked up in its forward-facing guns and missiles. The torpedoes are okay, but like most of the firepower is in turrets, which are fairly agile. We're talking like battleship-style turrets rather than fighter-style turrets. So flatter angles, you won't be able to go straight up, but you should be able to roll fairly easily. Hey, Phantom. And the only reason the Carrack had one is to respawn in deep space, but its bed won't respawn later. No, the reason why it had one is not for respawning in deep space. It was for fixing you in deep space. Guys, let's stop this for a moment. Medical gameplay is not what you think it is. Currently, the reason why a lot of medical gameplay is respawning the ship is because there are bugs and other issues that you die to super quickly, and that's what they can do. But in the future, when you get hit, you're going to bleed out. Hitting a pen won't heal you. So if you go out on an expedition in a planet in deep space where there are the closest hospital is a jump away, possibly more, which is a significant amount of time and distance, then you getting hurt on a planet, you're going to need medical attention. You need to get back to a med bed right away, because those pens and the medical tools that you can get that are mobile are not going to fix somebody up enough so that they can function long term. The med bed on the Carrack is designed to fix you up so you don't have to go back to a hospital to fix up, so you're actually functionable. That's the key. That's the thing that people miss about medicine, like medical gameplay in Star Citizen. The idea is that if you decide, say, well, fuck it, I broke my leg, I'm gonna go respawn, then you go back possibly multiple jump points, and then you're gonna have probably a delay timer, or before you can even leave the hospital, or before you can get your ship back, all these sorts of things. So that time penalty will happen. Hey, fandom. It's a blockade craft. It's not designed. The Perseus isn't designed as a frontline kind of combat ship. I'm 98% sure that Carrack Medbed will respawn, because the gameplay, the Carrack is supposed to be able to be in the middle of nowhere respawning back. No, it's not. It really isn't, guys. It's designed to prevent you from dying after a failed away mission. It's designed to fix you up so that you don't slowly bleed out or fuck up your health long term with stuff. Yeah, I have caffeine. I'm trying to. Good Kai Prison. Basically, it's going to, I mean, we're talking about the Xi'an Cold War. We are going to, yeah. And I also misspelled Perseus. There we go. Endeavor is going to be a long time away, and Endeavor is not something that you're going to be pushing the frontier in. The Endeavor is something you're going to go in there and you're going to be staying there forever. Like, it's going to be a long-term exploration if you're doing an Endeavor. It's a capital ship. It's the size, almost the size of a Bengal carrier. It's huge. So it's going to take some, crew to use. You won't be able to do that solo. Carrack, you could technically solo. You just won't be able to use any of the guns on it. The only ships, the smallest ship that will be able to have a respawn bed is the Apollo. And the Apollo is not an explorer. Yeah, I envision that too there, Dashio, that hospitals will essentially be the good guy version of Kleischer, where it's going to be a lot of you can't do anything for a while. Or you have to do things to rehabilitate yourself. The difference is that criminals will also have hospitals, and there'll also be the same thing, where you have to rehabilitate yourself. Exactly. Got any new Galactic Historians company? I do. In fact, we'll show it off here a little bit there, Vix. We talked. That's why one of the things why I have the title. At least I don't think I have it on YouTube. I'll change the title on YouTube a little bit. So it's proper. Yep. Yeah, the Perseus. I did a Galactic Historian Museum episode on the Perseus. You guys get to, if you are watching this right now, you'll get to watch it early, but we're also going to release it on Monday. So I decided I wanted to get, I was going to work on it over the weekend, but I decided I had the time now that I might as well just work on it instead of to play Cyberpunk like I wanted to, but it's all right. Imagine PTU 312 tonight? I think so too. Based off of their updates and everything. $32 million? You mean UEC? Possibly. I don't know. I heard mixed results lately. Are they wiping when 3.12 hits or not? So the way that works with the way that CIG works when it comes to wipes is if they don't have to, they will not wipe. That's how that works. They will not wipe unless they absolutely have to. And if you get a wipe and somebody else doesn't, it's usually your account needs to get reset using the account reset tool, because something can go wrong between those patch updates. But I actually do not envision, unless there's some serious issue with the database, envision them having to wipe anything until they get the first level of quanta, the quantum system, the procedure, the dynamic procedure generated, the dynamic economy in place, which is going to be next year, according to Tony Z. We'll see. But once that's in place, I think that's when they'll do a wipe. Or possibly with 3.12. I don't know. We'll see. I don't think they will, because they don't like doing that. So. Yeah, the account reset tools, if it doesn't keep your stuff, you can actually just keep resetting until it does. The account reset tools, it's got a bug in it somewhere where, like, sometimes it doesn't give you everything back. The thing I'm not liking is the tractor beam gun. I think it's breaking the immersion. It's fine. We'll talk about the tractor beam here in a bit, but thank you so much for that buck there, Primeval. That super chat. What do you think about the good guy prison / ransom in places like Pyro? How would you see that playing out if it became a thing? You wouldn't have good guy prison in Pyro, and you wouldn't really have ransom. If things were to be serious, like if a player is being captured and they're being held against their will, they can just kill themselves. They'll always be able to kill themselves in one way, shape, or form, so that they respawn at a hospital somewhere else. I don't think you're going to be able to kidnap a player and then just hold them hostage forever, because A, that's not fun. B, this is an RP. This is, the game. and C, that would be incredibly complicated and or really fucked up on CIG's part to allow that kind of shit to happen. So PTU when? Soon. Ain't no problem, Primeval. Is there any lore on the Perseus? Boy, there's a lot of fucking lore on the Perseus. There is a lot. They put a lot of lore in there, and they've actually tied it into stuff that's already existed in lore. And there is one piece that they released recently that I think has the Perseus in it, but they'd never say the name. They'd never say it by name. They mention the Nautilus, but they don't mention the Perseus. Gotta have Star Citizen on 360 degree simulator from Nova. If you're gonna pay me that kind of money, yeah. It's a lot of money. PTU when? Hopefully soon. I'd assume today, but we'll see. Having terrible flashbacks to the handcuffs and jail cells in Ark? Yeah. Possibly, Max. That might, your instance will end on your respawn, but your body and stuff may be different. It might be. I don't know. Let's skip a little bit before we go back to the Perseus and the Xi'an Cold War and stuff like that, because they're actually really linked. Let's talk about the tractor beams for a moment. One of the things that I see a lot of people is that they say that tractor beams are immersion breaking. And while I understand it, I think what people are saying, which is because most people are terrible at expressing themselves, and it's just not an attack on people. I find that a lot of people have a hard time explaining things, and I'm a teacher. That's my job. So I do it for a living. I have to break things down and recontextualize for people all the time. So I'm uniquely qualified for this. I think what most people mean when they say that tractor beams are immersion breaking is more that it looks cartoony. That tractor beams look weird because of the effects that they're using right now. It doesn't seem to fit within the aesthetics of the universe. And to that I'll say, it's going to change probably. It'll probably look better in the future. First pass, they just want to get it out there so they have it available for people. You know. I think that's the big thing. I think they could probably tweak it a little bit more so that when you like lift things, it looks a little bit more forceful rather than this spongy rope is what it looks like currently. But it's important. A lot of people don't realize that the tractor beams are required for the game. Like they're part of the game. They've always been part of the game. They've been part of the game since the Kickstarter. Tractor beams have to be in there. And, you know, you're not going to not have tractor beams function the way, like in the way that they're currently functioning. Hello, any news about 312 release? About 312. PTU possibly today. I'd imagine at the very earliest would be today. Possibly not until next week, but I think they've got until next week for release. They probably want to get in the PTU as soon as possible. Yeah. Repair is immersion breaking at this point. There's lots of stuff at this point in development. Just be patient. Yeah, 2 hours. That's always the answer. They need to have get like heavy lifting machines from the one from Alien instead of a gun that you can lift an insane amount of weight, which would break your hand off. Not really, man. And like the problem about that is that that's an entirely different, complicated set of tools, and that's where I will disagree with you entirely, Vigilance. The idea of having to have a tool to lift things, it's a simple tool that's that works. It works for game play purposes. Having to buy a separate heavy lifting machine that you're going to have to transport everywhere to do a load and unload, have space for it, is complicated needlessly and adds nothing to the universe except for a couple of people who are complaining about immersion. And this is one of my biggest problems about immersion. People who talk about immersion. Some of the things I've heard often used with immersion is essentially, I don't like the way it looks, thus it breaks my immersion. Pink guns pink ships and various bright colors on ships and gun skins and armor breaks my immersion. It's like, those things exist in real life. There are cars, combat fatigues, which are pink. Gun skins with Hello Kitty on them that you can apply to your guns, real life guns. Like, these exist. These are not things that don't exist in real life. And I often find those arguments to be very, very childish, because it's usually focusing on a visual element that you dislike, and you're claiming that it's bad because you dislike it, rather than saying, I dislike this, I wish they changed it. Not, this is bad, wish they changed it. For instance, I hate the Redeemer, but I mostly meme on it. I don't think the Redeemer shouldn't exist in the universe. I don't think it shouldn't be made or demand that it never be released. I just hate the Redeemer. But that's my own personal thing, not something I'd want CIG to change. That's the problem. Yeah. They did, yeah. We're going to talk a little bit about it at Captain's Table, but things like, for instance, it's a very basic version. It can only lift like certain 300 kilos. You know, we can't all be perfect. Listen. I mean, you can like the Redeemer, just like people can like garbage. You know. There are people who are sexually attracted to garbage, and that's none of my business. And if you like the Redeemer, more power to you. Live your truth. Believe in your burning trash can of a spaceship. Who's in the captain's table today? It's Max. It's tomorrow. Captain's table's tomorrow, Saturday. It's Friday in the United States. Hey, Star Maniac. Those grapple graphics aren't the issue. The gameplay's, it's the gameplay through Spider-Man in the universe. Well, who cares about that? The grapple aspect is only going to work in 0G. You're not going to be able to grapple crazily like that in gravity. It'll be tiered for force and depending on the gravity. We need to get Tractor Beam, MOBA Glass, so we can act like Jedis. No. Titan suit. There's going to be Titan suits. I don't think there'll be heavy, like, loading Titan suits, though. And even though, then, the heavy loading Titan suits, I assume, are going to be for huge crates, rather than these 1 SCU crates, which are basically just pallets. Any news on the Starfarer package sale that happened around Christmas? There was a Starfarer package... Oh, starter package sale. No, I haven't heard anything about that. No. Hey, Black to Burn. I don't really care if CIG goes full GTA and goes with crazy headpieces and stuff like that. That's fine. It's an MMO. Let people do stuff. Yes, I do want to recreate the Tears of Fire in game when the Redeemer comes out. No, but with the Talons, yeah, that'd be kind of cool. Yeah. The Tractor Beam nullifies object weight, but not yours. It doesn't really nullify. It just allows you to lift it. Can I talk about server blades? What do you want to know about server blades, Star Maniac? Yeah, writing your name on a ship is probably a good one. Having decals on ships would be cool. Any news on docking? Soon, Ace Man. Soon. They dropped it off the roadmap because they dropped off a lot of things from the roadmap. They're redoing the roadmap entirely for a completely different style of roadmap, which they'll release sometime before the holiday, which I assume is going to be like after 3.12 is released. We'll see. Probably is going to be delayed again. But how I envision, or how I think that the docking is right now is they seem to be actively engaging in it. There's a lot of previs and other things that they're working on with it, as well as other parts of the team. So docking is definitely being worked on, and anything that CIG is working on is 6 to 8 months away at max, if they're actively working on it, unless there's something that goes wrong and they completely have to throw it out the window, which is rare these days. That happened a lot 2-3 years ago, but it hasn't really happened in the recent years. The last time it happened was, well, no, I would say the last time it happened would be the salvage, but they didn't even talk about salvage. It was just on the roadmap. But there's a difference between being on the roadmap and being on the roadmap and CIG talking about it. Lifting 200 keys of mass with one hand means it must be reduced. You're not doing it with one hand, you're doing it with two. You operate the beam tool with two hands, not one. What about being able to counter EMPs, stealth-only solution? I'm sure there'll be some ways. I mean, some of the best ways you could probably counter EMPs is like with tools or with subcomponents that are EMP-proof. That allows you to reduce, like that would be my solution. Is they're already doing subcomponents. Just have a subcomponent which is like a hardening component, which allows for you to not be affected by EMPs, but it takes up one of your subcomponents, so you're less efficient. You don't have as much power or some other issue to it. So it'll be a matter of like tactfully, do you want to like harden your entire ship? Do you want to go to specific points that are hardened, like your power plant and your guns, and everything else is a little bit can be reduced, that kind of thing. The Faraday cage. I'm not a huge PvP guy, but I ended up having some real fun defending PO and an arrow for like 2 hours. I kind of hope the Talon flies closer to the arrow over the Gladius. Well, we'll see. It's pretty long rather than Like when the wings spread out, it gets pretty big. It's not really tall, but it's a big top cross section. But still, yes, I imagine that they'll reduce that weight when the or make it only happen in 0G when they have more mechanics in. The only reason why it's able to work on planets is because it's currently in development and they haven't finished it. It's not like mining, which like is done. This is tier 0 kind of implementation. And again, I'm okay with it. It's gameplay, guys. At the end of the day, this is a game. I want to play a game, not my life. If I want to play my life, I'll just turn off the fucking game, and I've got a wife and a job and other things I got to do too. I'm here to play a video game. So I need a little bit of escapism going on, and it's okay if it makes my life a little bit easier. Hence the joke about what Tom Pappy said, where it's not really a joke. I like his stance, which is we have an AR vision system where people can now see where the fucking doors are on things for the HUD. And the reason why they did it is because it's an accessibility thing to make the game more accessible. Because he said himself that Aaron Roberts spent like an hour trying to find the front door of the Carrack. Wasted an hour trying to find the front door of the Carrack. Aaron Roberts, okay? I think Chris and Aaron Roberts should just be the testers, should be like the quality testers for CIG. Just sit them down and say, play this mission. And if they can't figure out what to do, you fucked up. You gotta make it more accessible. Not shitting on Chris and Aaron. It's just, whenever something is weird with CIG, with something that CIG makes, Chris and Aaron managed to find it. So you think they're going to get 100 systems in game? Oh yeah, they'll definitely get 100 systems in game. When is the question? Not at release. Not at let me let you in on a little bit of a secret. Someone else asked about the about server blades. Oh, Starmania Nick. We'll talk about what are the limitations. We don't know. Server blades will probably be limited by the size or the number. I'm imagining think of it like kind of like a component that has subcomponents, where you might have 4 server blades and then slots, so you have to put them in there. But we don't know what the server blades actually do. I'm imagining that those server blades are things like scanning technology, targeting, systems, automation. So, like, if you're in a combat ship and you're automating guns, you're using up a server blade for the ship. You're using up a server blade for the ship, which means you can't use it for targeting, which means that it's going to be harder for you to hit things. Something like that. Detect stealth ships, yeah, specific types of scanners. I'm imagining what's going to happen with server blades is you will have a server blade for generic scanner, and then you will have higher tiers of scanning devices, which are designed for things like mining, salvage, combat, and they'll each do something different, like a mineral scanner or an identification scanner, like a bounty scanner that'll actually like search databases for bounties, so that you have various tools that you can use. But like tools, you only have so many slots for that ship, so you're gonna have to choose what it does. So you can put a bounty slot in a scanner in a mole if you wanted to, but it wouldn't do you very well, kind of thing. Maybe for them biddies, they're Dell. I think the reason why they don't want to do night vision is because if they do night vision, then it makes it easier for you to just plink people on the ground with your ship. They need to figure out a way to make it harder for players in ships on atmosphere to not just turret around and kill people. Speaking of mining, it'll be interesting to see what the new interface is now with the new next patch. I would be too. What about being only solution stealth? Okay. If server blades allow us to even semi-solo the Perseus, then we're going to see 50 plus Perseus fleets. you're not going to semi-solo the Perseus. I don't think you'll be able to automate the size 7s. They talked about automating the defense guns, the automated / remote guns. Those could be automated, and like that's a good example of the type of weapon that could be automated. But with the size 7 guns, I don't think they'd let you do that. It's an older ship. And with the hammerhead, they've even said with the hammerhead you might be able to do that, but we'll see. Like, it's also important to remember that I don't think if you put a server blade to AI a gun, that you will be able to control that gun from the pilot. You will just have to select a target and tell your AI or NPC to shoot it, essentially. It's essentially an NPC that you don't have to pay for, is what an AI is. The Perseus is a 3-man ship, which is insane. Yeah, it becomes a 3-man ship if you can slot those 2 anti-missiles. And those 2 guns are designed to be anti-missile guns. So you don't have to worry too much about torpedoes. The thing is really fucking armored, so it's designed to take more hits. It's a good ship. It's like people like, oh, it's $600. Yeah, it's a little expensive. But people just discarding the Perseus because they don't think it's a valid gameplay are not paying attention to what the Perseus is. If you like each other enough, yeah. I mean, he's coming on to all of us. That's how Firefly works. It isn't a bitch catch-22. You defend some of the goofy skins and weapon skins because things are available in IRL for guns and cars. Night vision again for soldiers, but hunters. That's the issue. Is that night vision isn't an immersion breaking thing. Night vision is a gameplay breaking thing. I think they'll allow for night vision eventually, but right now they got to figure out how to fix the problem. There's no cognitive dissonance between saying that have crazy pink guns in the game and saying that night vision is a problem because it breaks the game. Not immersion, it breaks the game. There's a difference. What about robots? Any robots coming into the verse, small and big? There was a resupply bot, but no, there's no robots in Star Citizen. I'm going to be doing an office hours. Galactic historian at some point on the AI, the history of AI in Star Citizen. Because AI doesn't work in Star Citizen. It's not in Star Citizen universe. Is there any lore supporting a smaller Drake ship that falls more in the line of the true starter ship? Not yet, but there's nothing against it. Drake is very versatile and they're very good at making ships for everybody. So I wouldn't be surprised if we did see something like it. Is the multi-game package turns into AI or NPCs things, right? That's last we heard. That may have changed though. We don't know. And I think the reality is that CIG doesn't even know until the game is more further along with in development before they figure out if they can support that. How it breaks the game. Okay, so Jaden, if you can just hover above the ground and it's darkness and you want to see someone on the ground who's fighting you, all you got to do is switch on night vision. And so someone who's played games like Arma and use night vision there, they're incredibly overpowered. You can see everyone. And so it's not just, oh, this person's hiding in the rocks in the dark, so I can't see them. Turn on night vision. There they are, right there. I'm going to point my guns at them and delete them from the universe. That's what night vision does. It makes it so that air gameplay, because there's no complications, you can just hover and fuck shit up. It makes it so that there's like almost no point to being on the ground. It makes the ships really, really powerful. They're already really powerful. What they need to do is find some way of making ships less powerful in atmospheres, and in terms of, and they're going to do that with things like the overheat issues, the capacitors for weapons, and more like impact of like the atmospheres and stuff like that. They already kind of have that. So then it becomes it's not something who's just floating there on top of you and turning down, like literally pointing straight down and shooting at you. If they move, they crash or something like that. So they are. This is a video game, not real life. Aircraft are really powerful in real life, and it can be problematic in a video game when everyone has aircraft. That would make sense. Having some sort of bright, dim stuff. Yeah, it does seem like that. The helmet should have night vision, heat. That's the thing, is I don't think you can. Like, that, the issue becomes, again, is balance. As much as I'd like to have night vision just so I can see shit in the dark easier, it doesn't, like, there is no balance. If there was some sort of trade-off, where if you could get night vision or heat vision, but it's a blade, so you have to give up a server blade for it, maybe. Or it's a specific add-on or specific types of helmets are the ones who have it. Just like in real life, not every single piece of clothing or airplane is equipped with night vision and heat and FLIR. You have to buy those things and to attach them. Maybe I could see that, but then you still got the balance issues. There has to, there also, like, and I've said this before, and I think people who've watched me a lot know this. I've said there has to be meaningful counterplay. There has to be a meaningful counterplay to the gameplay in order for it to balance it. And night vision and heat vision need to have a meaningful counterplay. Some sort of counter for suits where you don't show up. It's essentially like thermal stealth, or something that, you know, basically prevents you from being seen and spotted on a on night vision, or reduces your signature, something like that. If that was in, then maybe. Like, I have fundamentally, I have no problem with night vision or heat IR vision in Star Citizen. Not at all. I'd like to see that. However, I also see that why CIG hasn't put it in there, because there's no meaningful counterplay. And I've played games where there is no meaningful counterplay for people who have night vision, and it just becomes a seal clubbing event. And in a game like Star Citizen, you do not want a seal clubbing event, because then people are just going to complain. You would need, but that would have to be like, then would it be no point? Like, if you just have armor all the time that insulates you from being seen night vision and thermals, then there would be no point in having night vision and thermals. A spacesuit. But yeah, Kato, that's a good example. Like a ship with night vision, flare party. Yeah. Yeah, there needs to be some sort of meaningful counterplay with that. Hey, Flymo. Yes, you balance it out in such as COD, where you have a max number of accessories on your equipment. Yeah, that's part of it. But you also need meaningful counterplay. Just like EMPs, we talked about EMPs a little earlier in the stream, where we talked about how, you know, having some sort of way to harden your ship against, or partially harden your ship against EMPs. You need to have some way of preventing EMPs from affecting you, so that they're not just "I win" stickers, you know. Bright ass lights. Yeah, but you need bright ass lights at the person. I would really hope that CIG has like under barrel grenade launchers for some of their guns. I think they planned on it, but not those kind of flares, Diablos. You're not going to overload a night vision thing with glow sticks. We're talking about like phosphorus flares, like road flares, like the flares you shoot into the sky when you need rescue, that kind of flare. Now, I've never physically worn night vision. No. My point is I've seen it in gameplay. Again, you're arguing from a realism point of view, and I'm arguing from a gameplay point of view. This is a game. The only way that you need to have it can't be realistic. It has to be gamey, and it has to be gamey in the sense that it works in the universe. Just same issue with tractor beams and stuff like that. Tractor beams work fine as long as they have a purpose in the universe, and as long as they aesthetically fit in with the rest of the universe as well. Oh, you're saying that like just even a dim light can fuck up night vision. Oh, okay. I thought you were saying like it's super sensitive. You can see lots of stuff. I mean, yeah, but I mean there needs to be some sort of that needs to be a thing. If night vision exists, you need to have the accessibility of players with flares to that they can like blind people with. If there's no balance, you don't have to have night vision. Like, the only reason why night vision exists for combat is to be able to see your enemy. If you're in a ship that's really powerful and you can't balance it, then you don't need night vision. You just use spotlights, which also exist in the game, which are really powerful. Exactly. Like, it's really... I don't know how we got into this conversation about night vision. I just say it's one of those things with games like Arma, because I've played games like Arma and it's not fun, and that's the key element of the game of my arguments for Star Citizen is fun. It's based in fun. Is it fun? Does it work? And anyone who's played Arma can tell you that like night vision is an I win button when it comes to the game. And it can be really shittily implemented too. There's some night vision which is terrible, and you can't see anything, and everything's just blur. It's just basically like a green filter. So, like, I hate those night visions. You'd have to really make sure it works right. But I haven't, so I couldn't tell you that. But my point is more of about gameplay trade-offs. I don't know if the other races can see in the dark. I'd assume that the Xi'an have some sort of low light vision. Probably not the Tavaran, and probably not the Banu. Maybe the Vanduul. You play 40k mods for it, yeah. But that's the problem, Rakesh. If you have night vision on and it's just murder everything that glows, then there's no meaningful counter to it. I think we're just going around in circles at this point. I'm going to move on. I think they have enhanced vision, but I doubt that they have dark vision. I imagine they have longer vision. They can see further, and I can imagine they can see a little bit more clearer and probably see like much further around than we can. Because I assume that their eyes are more focused towards the sides of their head, like most predators are. Oh no, prey. That's prey. Predators are up in the front. But I imagine they have much further vision. But I don't know if they'd have dark vision or low light vision. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about the Perseus and the Xi'an Cold War, which is kind of what I want to talk a little about anyways. They're forward focused. Yeah, it's prey that have the side vision so they can see where things are coming from. So the Perseus lore and the Xi'an Cold War. I'll go over very briefly. We're going to show the video for Galactic Historian that I'm releasing on Monday. So the Perseus was first developed in 2520. So it's actually the oldest ship that is currently released in game. So when you're dealing all of the other ships are newer. Even the Aurora, which is the previous oldest ship, I think. No, the Idris is the previous oldest ship. The Idris was made after the Perseus. The Perseus was made before the First Tavaran War. That's how old it is. No, the Nautilus is actually made after the First Tavaran War. First Tavaran War is 2540, 2541. And the Nautilus is made after the First Tavaran War, before the Second. And the Idris was made after the First Tavaran War, before the Second. The Bengal is actually newer. I think this is a mistake, unless they mean that the current Bengal is different, because the Olympus crashed way before the Bengal is currently supposed to have been developed in game. In the in-game universe, the Bengal was developed in 2870 or something like that. It was only developed like less than 100 years ago. I'm doubting that's the case, unless there's some changes they're making to Olympus. Who did the military flight before the contract with the Xi'an? Contact with rebels. So there is a reference in the story Gift for Baba of the Unification Wars, and the Unification Wars took place after the UNE was formed. So I'm assuming they haven't really talked about it in depth, and they probably don't have a lot of ideas about it. But the UNE was formed because large corporations, large nation states, because like Earth at that time was not the way Earth is today. The Earth is super nation states. So like all of North America was a nation, all of Europe is a nation, all of Africa were like big blocks of Africa are their own nations, big blocks of Asia are their own nations, Oceania is its own nation, that kind of thing. So there's maybe like 10 total super nations on the planet. When they all signed on, then the other smaller nations like the moons and the different countries of Mars would eventually sign on. But I'm assuming that not everyone signed on to the UNE. Most probably not the frontier planets like Croshaw and Davian and those other planetary systems which were brand new. And possibly not even the smaller moons like Ganymede or any of the other places. So there's a reference to the Unification Wars. There could have been some sort of conflict to unite everyone under the UNE by force. And that it's been kind of glossed over in history because humans like to do that, especially humans that are part of a fascist dictatorship, which the UAE was at some point. So the answer is, who did they fight before the aliens? Each other. Xi'an cargo ship when? Never, because you asked about it. I don't know. Soon, I hope. Or shut up, null. All right, let's continue on. And not worth noting. Possibly. Nah, it's likely that the losers would retreat to areas which were of no commercial value to the UNE or no tactical value of the UNE. Places like Nexus and Null and those areas which are less, which do not have UEE or UNE presence at the time. Nyx is a good example of that. Often what happens in the UEE is people are driven away from the UEE because they're outlaws, and by outlaws, and this is important to remember, outlaws does not mean criminal. Outlaw simply means living outside of the law. It's the traditional, like, ye olde times kind of way of speaking it, and Darj always hates it when I say that. That's why I say it. I mean, in the UEs, yeah, basically. But there's lots of people who don't like the UNE, didn't like the UE, didn't like the UPE, don't like the UEE, and so they form their own kind of communes, their own areas. Spider, Levski, Nexus, the entire Nexus system, the Olympus in Null. These are all locations where people have gathered to live outside of the UEE because they don't want to live in the UEE. Now, some of them are criminals who are running away from the law, but a lot of them are just people who don't philosophically believe in it or are too poor. They left because they couldn't afford to live where they were going, and they were, maybe refugees, or they're just trying to get a job. So there are likely, if there was something like the Unification Wars and the UNE won, those who lost, who survived, would just flee to places where the UNE wouldn't chase after them because it wouldn't be worth the chase. So, anyway, let's talk about the Perseus, because that's important to remember. Is that Perseus was made specifically for patrolling the frontier. It was made around the same time as the UPE was formed, which is the changing of the UNE to be more accepting of other planets. So, as far as I can gather, the UNE is essentially the UN. That's what it was. It was essentially the UN, but made into a state. So, Secretary General, General Assembly, different nations, that kind of thing. And then sometime during the 26th century, they decided they needed to reform because that system became way too advantageous for Earth and for Sol, because they have more nations than the, border planets. Like a planet like Croshaw may have 4, can't remember one of the nation. There's the couple planets in Croshaw which are terraformed, but like there might be 6 nations on or states in all of the Croshaw system, like 4 or 5 or 3 or 3, whatever, because there are like modern day countries on planets, and there are sometimes multiple modern day countries that are just broken up. You can think of it as kind of like in the U.S. our county system, or a nation, like each these, they're kind of like counties for the planet, and the planet has its own governor, which functions more like a U.S. state, that kind of thing. So, as a result, because it very much favored the Sol, there was a lot of agitation, and eventually the UNE was transformed into the UPE, where they created a triumvirate system where they moved everything from being UN to being, you had the advocacy, who's in charge of the court system, you had the military, which was in charge of the military, and then you had the Congress, which was in charge of, or the secretary, who's in charge of Congress, a congressional body, and the Senate, essentially, the formation of the Senate. So I'm assuming that the General Assembly the UN General Assembly morphed into the UPE Senate, and then which eventually formed into the UEE Senate. So. Hey, how's it going? Hey, Paul, when you own your own astropub in the Star Citizen, Will it be Mos Eisley Cantina or something more with more foot traffic or more civilized? There'd probably be for the Astropub in game will probably be more of a Mos Eisley, but you check your guns at the door kind of thing, and there will be places where people can have backroom locations if I can offer it, sort of thing. Thank you, Leaf. New proposed profession, Star Citizen, space lawyer. What happens when two ships collide in international space? Then it's UEE. Are humans fighting? The answer will always include yes. Who are the humans fighting? Who are the humans fighting? The answer will always be each other. Yes, we are very good at that. Welcome, Alf. All right, so let me go over this. So essentially, the UP is formed, and there's a big problem because once the UPE is formed, humanity is in an era of expansion. There is with more succinct centralized government, with more consistent laws, and with people feeling like they have more rights, there is a move to move out into the space. So if you are living on a planet that has one representative and you're always outvoted by Sol, you're not really enticed to go to another planet, just start a new planetary government where you're always going to be outvoted by Sol. Fuck that. I'm not leaving. I'm going to stay here, and we're going to figure out how we can get more power, because I don't want to have to be screwed on a frontier planet when we need supplies, and Sol needs a tax cut for the rich, and we're fucked because the rich people in Sol need the money. That's the kind of like reality that you're dealing with the UPE. So when the UPE is formed, it causes this huge wave of exploration and expansion to break out, because people will start realizing that they can have more power. Because it diluted the Senate and diluted a lot of the power to become more. It's still focused on Sol. Sol still had a lot of the power, but Sol didn't have as much power. Earth didn't have as much power as it did in the past, which allowed for, like, if the outer systems wanted to gang up and vote against Sol, they could. So which meant that fortune favored the bold. You go find yourself a new home, because now, if you found this colony and there are 15 colonies and they all eventually get citizen, representation in the Senate, you can outvote the people in Sol. So why not? So there's a lot of and plus money, and so there's this huge expansion into space at this time. And the UPE, which is just getting on its feet, especially the UPE Navy, which is being transitioned from the UNE Navy, they need something to police these frontier planets. That's the Perseus. The Perseus is designed as a police vessel. It's designed for the military to protect and patrol areas. And also make sure that people understand who's in power. It's designed to be a bully ship, as I call it. It's designed to essentially look mean, have a lot of firepower, and sit in space where there's nobody else is going to be nearly as powerful as you are with that ship. We're also at a very different time than the modern era of Star Citizen. So it's intentionally inspired by a time period in the 19th and early 20th century that was called gunboat diplomacy, where countries like the US, Britain, Germany, France would often keep its colonies in line by basically just parking a ship that has more guns than God off the coast and saying, you either listen to us or we bombard your colony to death, or indigenous populations to death, that kind of thing. So it works the same way. The Perseus is designed to be a gigantic, the big stick diplomacy kind of attitude. Is designed to be an imperialistic ship. So then we have, and it works. It actually does its job. The first ever conflict it gets involved in is called the Incident at Red Ridge. When the UPE is first adopting the UEC, the United Earth Credit, as its currency in Davian on the planet of Cestulus, which is Davian 2. There's a huge amount of unrest, because they think that adopting the UEC will cause the market to collapse. So there's a lot of protests against it, and then that protest turns into violence, and that violence turns into revolution, and the UNE or the UPE has to step in. So what do they send? They send the Perseus. The Perseus comes into system. One Perseus called the Bunjil comes into the system, and the revolutionaries immediately surrender because they're faced with a Perseus, which looks mean, has big guns, and they have nothing that can shoot it. They can't hurt it. It's going to end them. They're just waiting for death. So it shows up and they surrender. So it does its job very well. Fast forward 1 year later. Gaia Planetary Services. We don't know which planet, but we know it's a planet somewhere on the modern day Periline, or what was the Periline. Gaia Planetary Services starts to terraform a planet that they don't have the rights to terraform. They didn't get authorization from the UPE to do it. No one told them they could do it. They just decided there was a planet, so they were going to do it. Because they didn't want to have to get permission for it, because by the time they did scans or asked for permission, then another company would come in and claim it while they were trying to get all through the proper paperwork. So they go to set up these terraformers, and while they're building these terraformers, they're surrounded by a strange alien race because they're trying to terraform an inhabited planet that they didn't bother scanning. So they all get captured, and one of the foremen is sent away to go back to the UPE and tell them what's up. And the UPE now has to deal with a first contact situation where they literally tried to commit mass genocide on a planet. So the UPE sends in the Perseus as a deterrent, as a way of saying, this looks mean, it has lots of guns, don't fuck with us, at least until they could send the rest of the fleet in. That was the first thing they sent in. And they guard this jump point to the system. They just basically blockade it to prevent anyone from coming in, and then start negotiations. And that negotiations eventually goes on, and that species that we tried to mass murder on a planet was the Xi'an. So that is the beginning of the Xi'an Cold War. So the Perseus is essentially the main ship during the Xi'an Cold War, because its primary role during the Xi'an Cold War was to patrol the Periline, which is this border of planets, or border of systems that borders between UEE and Xi'an space. And so, again, most of its job wasn't to fire a shot. It was designed to be a deterrent, to prevent the Xi'an from trying to infiltrate their lines, because it may not be able to withstand a Xi'an capital ship, but it's not going to die in the first round. So it's going to hit back and or get a message off to prevent them from being able to know that they're there. So it's one of those. It's the not the boomers. It's the submarine, the attack submarines that the U.S. had that would track the boomer submarines from the Russians and shadow them everywhere, letting them know that they know where they were. Yeah, essentially, it's a smaller Star Destroyer. That's what it's designed to do. Give any humans power, and they'll start using it to do dicks to other humans. Perseus kind of has a gunslinger mentality. Yeah, we're outnumbered, but you're the one who's gonna. But one of you is going to have to be the first to pull the trigger, and whoever that is going to cut half before we go down. Exactly. It's a mad situation. Before the Nautilus, before the Carrack, before the Idris, all of which were used heavily along the Periline, the Perseus was the ship of the line. It was the ship that held the patrols. So. Yeah, it's the MAD principle, which, for those guys who don't know the MAD principle, during the Cold War, America introduced what was called the mutually assured destruction, which was, you may hit us, but we're going to hit you. We're all going to die together. So don't pull the trigger so we don't all die. The idea was that or massive retaliation was another term for it. It's the same kind of idea. Basically, the Perseus is you're going to bulldoze these things like they're made out of tinfoil. The second round, but we get to fire back, and we're going to get our big brothers in to come help you to prevent you from going any further. So this is going to turn any system you invade is going to turn into a killing field for both of us, and it'll become absolutely destructive. It'll be apocalyptic. Neither side is going to get anything done. You're not going to win. You're just going to die slowly. So that was the purpose of the Perseus. So fast forward, the Perseus does a pretty good job, but the Carrack does a better job at exploring and keeping things. It's got better sensors. The Nautilus does a better job at doing area of denial, because it can mine jump points and prevent anyone from trying to get in. And it can do so after it safely gets away. And the Idris has a fighter cap that it can launch, so it actually has a force multiplier. Plus, it's got a big fuck off cannon, so it will survive that first round. And when it punches back, it's going to punch back twice as hard. So it's the Perseus squared, which was what it was designed to do. The Idris is designed to replace the Perseus. That was what its purpose was during the end of the Tavaran Wars, because the Perseus wasn't really good in the Tavaran War. So by 2860, pretty much the Perseus is taken out of fashion. It's no longer in use. The RSI stops making them. There are still a couple that are in service because they work, but there's no Xi'an Cold War anymore. Its main purpose is gone until 2945. October 10th, October 9th? I think it's October 8th. Sometime in early October. 2945. The Vanduul tried to invade the Vega system, attacking Vega 2. They fail. Do a lot of damage on their way out, though. This invasion sparks the declaration of war by the UAE on the Vanduul, which then allows the UAE Navy and Army and Marines to start pulling their resources away from the interior of the UAE to police the interior towards the border, so that they can defend against and attack the Vanduul. This includes at least one old Perseus, the UEES Achilles. The Achilles is set. Hey, thank you, Few. Did we get rated? Oh, thank you so much for that. 2 to the 5th baby, 32 months. Thank you so much, my man. Rakesh, that's fine. That's kind of a dick move. I don't know what you were saying. Just random promotion of another person. STL's a great guy, but please don't do that. What happens in Vega stays in Vega. Perseus is never out of fashion. How you doing, Few? That pointy nose armor will provide angled armor craziness. Yes. See, if you put your guns forward in a choke point, you can shred anything that comes into range before it shows, which I think is the best position. Yeah. Doesn't MAD stop working because humans expansion into space, by the way? Part of the reason why it works today is that we've got nowhere to go in the event. Well, yeah, it doesn't, but I mean, here's the thing. The difference is that the MAD concept in the concept of Star Citizen during the Xi'an Cold War was essentially the Xi'an could not sneak their way into victory. Anything they do would be monitored. And so even if they managed to get a foothold into a system, all they would be doing is getting a foothold into a system that would be immediately countered by a massive fleet. So the UEE may not win a war against the Xi'an, but they're going to make them pay for every inch that they take. Every centimeter of space they conquer from humanity will be countered by an equal blow. So it works in a similar mad system where, yes, you can start an attack and it could be very successful, but it's going to be a Pyrrhic victory. That's the purpose of the Perseus of that one. He does, yeah. He's great with that kind of stuff. That kind of context would be great, though, when you were saying that. Not just watch STL Youngblood. If you think about it from my perspective, I didn't know what you were talking about. So, let's continue on. What were we talking about? We were talking about Vega 2. So the attack of Vega 2 happens. There is at least one patrol Perseus that is pulled into the fight or into the fleets that are patrolling Vandal space, which is the UES Achilles. It's attached to the 65th Combat Group, which happens to be the same combat group that the Retribution is attached to, which is that big kingship slaying ship, the King Slayer, designed to be the human equivalent of a kingship. March 2946. There are some intelligence reports that say that there's a Vandal clan that is massing to invade the Oberon system. There had been multiple raids before in the year before that sent messages, because the Vandal tend to raid a system first to see if it's valuable, and then they eventually send in a fleet. The Retrocide ship, yeah. You have fucked up now, yes. Basically. So Admiral Bishop orders the 65th Battle Group into Oberon to try to counter an invasion. The Vandal come into the system, and it is a slaughter. An incredibly vicious fight between the Vandal and UEE. And the ship that's the freaking point guard, apparently, the one that was at a very important part of the UEE lines, was the UES Achilles, the Perseus, the old Perseus ship. And it was set up against at least two, possibly more, Vandal capital ships. And it destroyed two of them. Two destroyers. And the average destroyer, but I did some calculations on this, is 4 times the size and firepower than a Perseus is. So the Achilles is destroyed. It's not destroyed. It's functionally destroyed. It basically does not work as a ship anymore. It's a hulk, but it wasn't destroyed. But it managed, before it went down in the Battle of Oberon, it took out 2 destroyers by itself. And the reason why is because it's built in a time before shields. Most of the Perseuses, all the Perseuses, the Perseus was designed before shields were available on sub-capital ships. Fighters and anything below a capital class did not have enough power to generate a shield. After the First Tevaran War, they actually built sub-capital shields. For capital ships or sub-capital ships, which is why fighters and stuff like that have today, because they captured that technology from the Tevaran. So the Perseus's design concept is move slow, have a lot of armor, shoot down anything that is missile related, so not relying on the shield to defend you. So as a result, the ship itself had shields, had armor, had anti-missile fire. So it was able to, the Vandal attacks generally are ram that shit. And if you look at the Perseus, that's not a good idea. Because I can imagine, this is just a theory, that how it destroyed at least one of the destroyers, it just said, I've got a pointy tip and you've got an open side. 2 can play the ramming game. And as a result, because of its armor, because of its anti-missile defense systems, it was able to survive in these fights longer because it's a smaller target, it has more defenses, and yes, it moves slower and is not as maneuverable, but it's got a lot of firepower for its size. So Bishop is so impressed by the performance of the Achilles that he personally requests RSI put the Perseus back into production, which is why we have the Perseus today. It's a remodeled revision of the Perseus. It's basically the same ship, except for they've modified the cargo hold so that it can hold more. It can hold a rover now. So. Exactly. A Pyrrhic victory, yeah. Thank you, Mimo. I'm glad you did. It makes a lot more sense, attrition versus annihilation. Exactly, yeah. Compare the Perseus versus Polaris. They look very similar. So anyways, that's the lore. That's the lore of the Perseus, which is pretty cool. There's a lot of lore. There's even like an event called the standoff at Hador, where a Perseus, I'm pretty sure it's a Perseus, took a shot at some Xi'an who were scanning a top secret UEE installation that had exploded. They said, hey, get away. And the Xi'an just ignored them. So they're like, cool, here's size 7 across your bow. And they said, okay, cool, we're gone now. We're not going to scan this anymore. So yeah, the standoff at Hador is the UEE's version of the Cuban Missile Crisis, which is pretty cool. It was in the latest Jump Point. So I'll do a video on that one too. So compare the Perseus to the Polaris, they look very similar. So the Perseus is very small compared to the Polaris. So you're dealing with a very different type of thing. Rakesh, thank you. You didn't have to subscribe, man. Thank you for subscribing. I didn't mean to like shame you. It was just more of a like, Hador. No, Hador. Hadur. Shots and cheers in chat, guys, by the way. Here's some booze for y'all. Ooh, that'd be kind of cool. The Polaris is, so the best way of kind of comparing those two, Polaris and Perseus. The Polaris is an attack submarine. It is a frigate almost. It's designed to strike. It is a striker. It is DPS is what it is in terms of MMO concepts. The Perseus is a defender. It's a tank. Its job is to take the hits for you, to be dangerous enough that if you're not paying attention to it, it will end you. But if you are paying attention to it, you're not paying attention to that Polaris or that Ares or those cutlasses. It's designed to tank the shots because it can tank the shots better than the Polaris will be able to. It's a distraction. It's a road bump. It's gonna hurt, but it's a road bump. And in terms of sub-capital and kind of smaller ships, it still works like that. It works as a bullet sponge to soak up most of the firepower while your smaller ships can go and do the hits. 100. The Polaris is 150 meters, 160 meters. The Perseus is 100 meters. No problem. Polaris is 40% larger and has smaller armaments but larger artillery and can support fightercraft companies. Yeah, they can. It has enough for like, at least at one point it was a saber, so it holds a saber, so it can hold it can hold like maybe a gladiator to increase its firepower, but it's size 10 torpedoes is what its main armaments are. Whereas the most of the firepower for the Perseus is its size 7s. Because I don't think that I think there's a size 8 on the Polaris. But I don't think there's as many size 8. I think there's like 2 size 8s or something like that. I'll look it up though. Polaris. We actually don't know. It has a size 5 weapon, size 4 weapon, and a size 2 size 4 weapons. So it has 2 size 4 manned turrets and then a remote size 5. So it actually has pretty small in comparison. It has 2 size 5 weapons, 5 size 4 weapons, and then 6 size 4 weapons. But one size 4 remote, 5 man turrets. Most of the Polaris, if you look at the Polaris here, let me pull up a picture of the Polaris so you guys can see what I'm talking about. Nope. I put a lot of time into your lore videos and Captain Save. Thank you, Rakesh. Thank you, man. Thank you, Rakesh, though. Thank you, man. We know nothing, yeah. So, but I mean, like, let me give you a good example. So this is the Polaris, right? So the Polaris is, most of the Polaris' size is its hangar bay. Like, that's its hangar bay. So most of the Polaris' size is the hangar bay. It has lots of turrets on it, and these are all manned turrets. Then it also has some remote guns as well. But that's most of it. And the Polaris's big, attribute is that it has a hangar. It's still a huge ship in comparison. And if you look at this concept ship compared to the Gladiuses over here, it could definitely fit 2 Gladiuses in there. So we'll see though. The Idris size 5 railgun is supposed to be size 10, and it's supposed to have its own reactor just for charging it to fire when where the Idris P or K does not. That's just based off of old info. Take it with a grain of salt. Yeah. We're talking about the Idris is different. The Idris is a size 10, yeah. What do you mean, no, there isn't, Diablos? What were you saying? The Nautilus has 2 size 7s. It brought. I bought it for that, but the Perseus is a baller. Yeah. There's 4 size 7s. Yeah, so the Idris M railgun, I'm assuming that the K add-on, the P doesn't have a railgun attachment. I'm assuming that the railgun attachment comes with its own reactor. As would the K. I'm sure that the K has its own reactor as well. Though it could also be that the K's particle weapon uses the main reactor, which may weaken it a little bit, but it doesn't have the anti-capital ship size 7s on its front. Because the M has actually size 7 weapon attachment for the front of its ship. Like a turret. Essentially has a Perseus turret on its front. Plus a bunch of other stuff as well, and that size 10s. Target Drone, thank you so much for that 6 months, by the way, man. Wow, still no PTU? Not as of right now. It might come in a little bit later. We'll see. Isn't railgun size 12? No, it's size 10. Size 10 torps are not going to be used. You do not use size 7 torps for... you won't using size 10 torps to kill a Hornet. You use size 10 torps to kill an Idris. What ships do you think my Star Runner will be able to dock into for the system warp jumps? Star Runner? Oof. Gosh, probably nothing short of a Bengal. Maybe no. Yeah, probably nothing short of a Bengal. It's like there should be. No. You could put the Star Runner on a Kraken. You can definitely put a Star Runner on a Kraken. I still think they need a ferry ship, though. They need a ship like the Kraken, which doesn't have any guns, but it's just its job is to carry ships from point to point. So you can just land on it. The jump ships from BattleTech, a good example, where like drop ships don't have their own jump drives, so they have to attach themselves to a jump ship, which just kind of ferries to and fro from two different systems. So you just have like a network. Having some sort of ferry that you can fly your ship into the dock onto it, and then just go pop off and have a smoke. grab some food at the eatery while it travels from between two places. I guess the Kraken privateer could do something like that, but when the game is out, will they let you buy AI? No. Yes and no. It depends. It depends on what you mean. It's such an awesome job to do for an org. Maybe even get some kind of a monopoly going for a specific group. Oh yeah. The place is going to be a little bit bigger than that. I think the Polaris is going to be a small org ship. The Perseus is a fuck around ship. it's a have a bit of fun with a couple of mates kind of ship. Multiple of them could be a good org fleet, but nah, it's a 600. That's what it is. If you put the AI blades into the anti-missile systems, into the remote turrets, then it's a 600. It has two turrets and a missile bays. It's a 600. The pilot doesn't get to control anything. Exactly. The Jupiter, the lore ship that they used to transport their shuttles. That would make sense. If there was to be one lore ship that I'd like to see in game that would function well for that kind of thing, it would be the Jupiter. Here's the thing. You don't need that until you have jump points. So I think I understand why CIG wouldn't have released it or even thought about it yet, but I think that's going to be something they're going to have to think about. A ship that's just a flying garage that goes from point to point. Again, privateer could work, but that's kind of an expensive ferry. Also, the K doesn't have a reactor for the big gun. Was explained to make it take longer to charge to fire, so it's supposed to be weaker than the M. Yeah, we'll see. Like we're closer to figuring out what the K does now than we were a couple years ago, but we're still probably a year plus away. The Crucible's a flying garage for one ship. I'm talking about a flying garage building. You know, the Endeavor can only hold two because of that jump area. That area can hold like two cutlasses. I'm talking about a ship that can hold Constellations, Star Runners, Auroras, Vanguards, Cutlasses, Freelancers, Hornets, Sabers, like that can hold multiple constellations, multiple Star Runners, multiple Vulcans, that kind of thing. That size, multiple moles, something that can hold like dozens of them. Thank you for them biddies. Hey, Married Gaming Challenges, how you going? So a Bengal without guns, basically. I mean, like, the closest thing would be the Kraken, which makes sense. The Kraken can do that. It can carry, like, multiple Star Runners and such like that. Oh, yeah, Star Runner's supposed to have its own jump drive. It will have a jump drive. Every ship in-game that has a quantum drive can have a jump drive. I think. Maybe not the 85X, but jump drives are just simply an addition to the like they attach onto the quantum drives to make them run. So does it just made Retribution look like a flying sword from Final Fantasy game? Maybe. Hey Max, how you going? But how many rocks are within and within how many cutlasses? Yes! It does, yeah. Like, all ships have jump drives. Here's the thing. The MSR and most ships are going to have jump drives, but I imagine that the cost of fuel will be high. I can also imagine that these ferry ships wouldn't just be jump ships. They would be ferries from a planet to another planet in a different system. Because the way that Star Citizen works is the larger the ship, the larger the jump drive. The larger the jump drive and the quantum drive, the faster the quantum and the jump. So big ferries should be able to cover the same distance, say from Hurston to Microtech, in half the time. Or less. So load yourself onto a ferry, you jump not just across the system, but you jump to a jump point, jump through a jump point, jump to another planet, in half the time it would take for a ship that your ship would normally be able to take. That becomes valuable because A, you have protection because you're in a larger ship, so you don't have to worry about it so much. B, you're getting there faster, and C, you don't have to fly it. So there's less risk for you overall. You haven't played in 2 years. Got a rundown for me? Oh, Lord. 2 years ago. It was 2018. Frames are better. There's an entire system now. You can land on planets. There's mining is in game. 3.0 was 18, right? Yeah, possibly. We could definitely see that that larger ferry ships like the Crusader Jupiter. Yeah, but I mean, we're not just talking about the Jupiter. We're talking about with Crusader, they also build the Hercules and the Starliner, which are both big ships. Mining is in game. Full mining. It's really the next patch is adding refinery, so you actually take your ore to get refined and then sell that material somewhere else. The reputation system's being turned on. Next patch, the Idris is going to be not spawnable by players, but you can, at a high enough crime stat, you can get it to spawn at stations, so you can find an Idris. There's the first event, the first story event in game is coming in soon in the next couple of months. An invasion of the Stanton system by a hyper xenophobic organization called Xenothreat, who actually run Pyro, which is the neighboring system, which we will be getting in the near future. There's been audio and teasers that they've done about that, so that's coming in, which the first lore event is always a good thing. All of the planets are in game except for Crusader, and Crusader's coming in soon. Let's see. Still 50 people per server. I'm trying to think about all the stuff that's coming in 2 years. More ships, more ground vehicles, more mission givers, more landing zones, obviously, because of all those planets. So, yeah, new stations, interdictions. You can get scanned by NPCs, and if you don't, the new law system. There's prisons now in game, so you fuck up, you go to prison if you die. There's medical respawns, so if you have medical ships, you can respawn back in those medical bays, but only if you set that medical bay as your respawn point, and if you have that ship. So things like the Cutlass Red, the Carrack, yeah, Glacier Prison. Yeah, gas clouds in 3.12. There's new gas clouds around stations. Planets look a lot better than they did in 3.0. A lot better. Will the Talon fit in the C2 Starlifter? I don't know. We'd have to see. Oh, when will the... Yeah, you asked about that earlier, Nemo. Will it be able to not fly the ship and be more useful? When they have more multi-crew functions in, they're slowly adding in more multi-crew functions there to the ships. So we're going to probably see, like, co-pilots need to be able to take over control. So there probably needs to be some sort of HUD control where they can flip control over to them. The missile operator mode is another thing that's coming in that's going to be more useful. Scanning modes, which they've been working on, to allow for dedicated scanning operators for things like the Terrapin. So it's in the cards probably in the next year or so. I'd expect to have co-pilots be able to take over, because co-pilots can take over in like the Prowler. The Travaran Prowler actually has the co-pilot, so you can take over. The Arrow barely fits in the C2, so there's no way the Talon does. I haven't seen the Talon, so I don't know how it works. Medic, engineer, construction scanning, communication scanning, all of those things are coming in. I mean, yeah, all of those things are coming in, at least planned to be worked on, if not being implemented next year. Medical gameplay is being worked on. Engineering gameplay is being worked on. Communications is in game, but not quite there yet. Scanning is definitely being worked on. Jump point? Yeah, well, the jump point's not in game yet. But yeah, jump point's coming in soon. Yeah, Hercules will neighbor to ducking gameplay. Well, the Hercules probably won't be able to fit any large ships. So not really. Yeah, it won't really. Yeah, repair for the multi-tool, that's coming in soon. Well, I think Org is one of those things, like, I expect a lot of those smaller things to be introduced after they deal with the iCache issues, because I can imagine they need to make sure that persistence and communications can work. I think of iCache, everything is significantly gated by iCache. If Jin is here, everything is significantly going to be reduced until iCache comes into the game, and then after iCache will be server meshing. Needs to be in the game too. Yeah. The M50 should be able to fit into Hercules's, but you won't be able to like fit a Cutlass into a Hercules, which itself can have a rock. It doesn't work like that. Subcomponents for components, yeah. How's the new house? It's nice. It's nice. It's weird that I've lived here for 3 months now. Not only did we get a new house, but I have solar panels now. So, when's Org going to be being in? We don't know. At some point. I remember hearing that soon you'll be able to hire AIs for jobs. I was just wondering if you'd be able to buy the same AIs, like for real cash. No. So at one point you could have if you have multiple accounts, like if you had a starter package, if you had like 3 starter packages on your account, 2 of those starter packages could be extra characters, or like on the same account, or they could be NPCs, customizable NPCs that you could have on ships. And that was an idea that was way early on. We don't know if that's still a thing. It could be, but we'll see. Happy Friday, yeah. So soon AI is being in. Soon being, we have no idea. Probably not soon. You're not going to see AIs in the game in the next year. I can almost guarantee that. You will see AIs that you can hire maybe in 2 years at the earliest. They've got a lot of other shit they got to work out. No, server meshing is definitely not coming before iCache. iCache is coming in sometime. The earliest we'll get it is July next year. And server meshing, requires a complete retooling of almost all the aspects of Star Citizen. So it's a longer process. Longer than iCache, at least. Blades first, NPC second? Maybe, because we're probably going to have subcomponents before we have hireable NPCs. Just did a new build. Have to finish installing the OS and finishing wiring fans RGB. Ryzen, not bad. RTX 5, oof, yeah. 570 is going to hold you back. I don't know about the 570. The 570 is really old. That's probably the biggest one. What's the nicest thing that happened to you this week? I had a day off. I had today off. I took today off from work. I lost weight. I'm down 2 more pounds. Slowly but surely chipping away. I am very, very large. I need to be more healthy, so I've been doing daily hour-and-a-half exercise routines with going about 2 to 4 miles, probably 3 miles a day in terms of walking. And then I do about 20 to 30 minutes of exercise. So I do about 3 miles in an hour. Yeah, I get you, married. I get you. Feels great, yeah. I've lost about 6 pounds since COVID started. The mission is 4 years in a row, yeah. Hoping data running can be transfer these HDDs to this location as well as the other more complex ideas the community has come up with. We'll see. I think transport these hard drives to this location is probably what you're going to get, which is going to be lucrative. It's just a different type of transportation. See, Commissar, I did the same thing. Early in COVID, I gained weight, and then what I started doing was anytime I had extended periods, like during my lunch breaks, because I'm at home, I just get up and I walk around the block a couple times. So like I'd spend about 45 minutes exercising, and that eventually evolved into an hour and then an hour and a half. So I say that staring at pizza. Though today has been my cheat day, so. I'm sure they'll hand wave it as like something like that. Biomedical information packs that just happen to be on drives. That sucks, Tez, man. You can't leave my post. I thought I want to run to Jake Harold and try to land it like the last Starship S&P flight. The last Starship S&P flight, you didn't literally land, it more exploded. Yeah, VR headsets work. I mean, what I've been doing, the reason why I've been starting to do like exercise and stuff like that is because I find it hard to squeeze in gaming unless I have like an actual time bracket for it. And that time bracket tends to be hours. So if I'm playing a game, I'm not playing a game for an hour. I'm playing a game for 4 hours. And if I'm playing a game for 4 hours and I only have an hour just to kill, I can't really do much. Like, I collect Warhammer miniatures because I just got back into it because of COVID, and it's relaxing, but it takes more than an hour to paint a miniature. It can, even one that's been base coated and that kind of stuff, it can take an hour to paint one, maybe. And you know, you have to like be paying attention to it the whole time. You can't be doing anything else. So just there's not a lot of time, a lot of like small segments of time I've had where I've had nothing to do, like maybe watch a YouTube video or like an episode of a series on Netflix. And after 3 months of doing that, I'm like, that's boring. I need to do something else. So walking. I just like, I'll just walk. I'm a fat ass on my butt anyways. Let's just go walking. So. Yeah, I know. I tend to, the detail that I like to put it up to for table standard, for me, tends to be a little bit more higher quality. I want people to look at my models on the table and go, damn. Not like, holy shit, that's professional, but like, that's cool. Let me show you. Get out and walking more. Yeah, that's that. Good job, there, Rakesh. Yeah, it's the same kind of thing. I'm hoping by the end of this month, if I can be down 10 pounds by the end of this month, and by end of January be down in the next hundreds bracket for me, then I'll be happy. Let me show you. So this is probably one of the best minis I've done. Not the best mini I've done, but and I still haven't put his like his transfers on. So it's a little above table standard. It's not professional by any means. I haven't done highlights, a lot of highlights or anything like that. It mostly has just shading and then some brushes, some light dry brushing on it. And this took me about an hour and a half once I got base coated. So that's the kind of quality I like to do. So that takes a little bit longer than than an hour. Hey, Buster. What's the joke, Buster? Is that dinner or snack? That's dinner. It's half of dinner. I'm almost done with this. Once I finish this slice, it's dinner. 2 slices of dinner. I went out and got a bag of a small bag of Doritos, and I had some brats for lunch. So today's my cheat day. So 2 slices of pizza, some brats, some Doritos, water, and G Fuel. Thank you, Dash Shield. Nice, Commissar. Nice. I have 2 Commissars that I still have to paint. So I don't have a pile of shame because I never, like, the second I get a model, I assemble them. I love gluing them together because it takes the least amount of time. And then when I get a chance to, I rattle can spray them down so that I have a base coat. And then, so like I have, and my guard army is almost completely painted. I have an infantry squad I've got to finish painting. I've got a veteran infantry squad I've got to finish painting. They're base coated. They haven't get started painting. And I've got 3 Bulgrins that I have to paint that have been base coated. All I have after I paint those guys is, at that point, I just need a Bulgrin, one more Bulgrin squad, which are $40. So, for plastic, and then I'd be able to field the type of army I'd want to play. So I'm pretty much done with that, but I still have like 3 units or three squads of Xi'ans to paint, which I haven't done. 2 commissars, which I haven't done, and then I have Blade Guard veterans, Outriders, a Infiltrator squad, and an Eliminator squad that I have to paint for Marines. Anyways, enough talk about Warhammer. I'm definitely getting Dark Tide, but that's another thing. So yeah, the Xi'an. I talked a little bit about the Xi'an Cold War. Look out for the standoff at Hador. That is be coming out. That video will be done soon. Talk a little bit more about the Xi'an Cold War. Might be an entire video on the Xi'an Cold War, but if I do a video on the Xi'an Cold War, it's going to be 45 minutes long because I'm going to incorporate all of the incidents, the entirety from the very beginning of the war to the end. Not Jump Town Wars documentary style, but definitely longer. In fact, that brings me to another topic. For those who have my Patreon, patreon.com/Galactic Historian, I'm going to set a stretch goal for a number of patrons or money. If I can get a certain amount of money, we'll just say, because we're currently at a lot of money, but let's just say $500 by whatever. When we reach $500 concurrent, I will do another Jump Town Wars documentary style video where at this time probably talking about the Tavaran Wars, talking about the first Tavaran War and then the second Tavaran War eventually. So any more Consolidated Outland lore now that the Nomad is out? Not really. The Nomad didn't come with a lot of Consolidated Outland lore. There is a lot of Consolidated Outland lore, but most of it is just Bremen lore. Yes, aimless. I'm shilling for it. I'm setting a goal. I'm learning from CIG. I'm setting stretch goals. But it just takes like the Jump Town Wars documentary took me 3 months of work to do. And if I'm going to do something like that again, I'm paying the voice actor who's doing the voiceover work, like the narrating work. Nice, Killer Cram. All right, so before we end the office hours, I do want to show you guys the sneak peek at the Perseus video that I put together. It's uploaded. It's on YouTube. It's going to premiere Monday at noon Central, so 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. GMT on Monday, December 14th. But if you're watching office hours, you get a sneak peek. Thank you so much for that $10, Rob. Holy shnikes. It's a lot of money. Thank you for that $10 super chat on, I think it's super chat. I don't know YouTube terms. On YouTube. Thank you, my man. And thank you so much for that holiday resub. There's Extreme Tuber. 6 months. Let's get through these there. Also, remember, we're giving away a Star Runner courtesy of CIG. Thank you, CIG. A Star Runner LTI game package. Exclamation point December in chat if you are in the Twitch chat. And for you guys on YouTube, I'll give you the link right here. Any news on the Taurus? Possibly next year. We don't know. Soon is with the Taurus. We'll find out more probably next year, though. No, it doesn't have a game package option. This is everything that CIG gives away. Every time a CIG gives a official package for a competition, or almost always all competitions, or to like streamers, they always make sure that their packages they come with a copy of the game. So this is like a unique thing that comes with CIG giveaways. So. All right, let me pull this up. Yeah, by the way, if you want to enter to win that Star Runner, all you got to be doing is following us here on Twitch and subscribe to us here on YouTube. So, but they're absolutely free. All right, nope. There we go. Video episodes. All right. Okay. Let's go to the right screen. I'll shut up and we'll watch. Oh, welcome to the museum. Sorry, I was just catching up a little bit of my Sun Tzu. It's important for the next exhibit. You see, the ship that we're about to put up is the embodiment of the Sun Tzu quote, "The supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting." Join me as we look at one of the oldest and most successful ships ever to serve in the UE Navy, the Robert Space Industries Perseus. Welcome to the museum. This is a series where I break down the lore of items, vehicles, and ships in sci-fi universes. If you enjoy these, please like the video, and be sure to leave any other questions you have in the comments below on your way out. Remember that the museum is supported by your generous donations on Patreon, so think of supporting us there to keep these coming. Today we'll be diving into one of the oldest ships still flying in the Star Citizen universe, the Robert Space Industries Perseus gunboat. Project Perseus was first started in 2520, a full 22 years before the start of the First Tevaran War. The ship was designed to be a powerful and intimidating patrol ship for the expanding United Planets of Earth Navy. Named after the Greek demigod and monster slayer, she was designed to help stop fights before they started, hoping that a combination of design and firepower would discourage most fights. With its 100-meter length, 50-meter width, and 21-meter height, it was quite small, so it made up for its size with its looks. Designed to be as mean as possible, the designers took inspiration from sharks, with sleek lines punctuated by sharp points. If the looks didn't scare people, the two twin size 7 operated turrets with 20 size 5 torpedoes would. It was designed to have enough firepower to bully any ship smaller than it to stay in line. At the time, subcapital ships weren't large enough to hold shields. As such, the Perseus was designed with 2 remotely operated turrets to shoot down incoming missiles, and heavy armor to withstand barrages of laser and ballistic firepower. Thus, she is slow, reaching a maximum speed of 92 meters per second. It wouldn't be long after the first ships were built that the Perseus would prove her worth, and make her name as a peacekeeper. 2529, Davian System, gateway to the east. The second planet in the system, known as Cestulus, was a pressure cooker. Many on the planet feared an economic collapse as the UPE was adopting the United Earth credit as its primary currency. This fear led to widespread protests. These protests soon turned violent and culminated in what is known as the incident at Red Ridge. This incident forced the local government to call for military assistance. In response, the UPE Navy sent one of the first Perseus gunboats in as a vanguard to secure the space before further troops could arrive to quell the rebellion, the UPES Bunjil. Upon its arrival at the planet, the local rebellion was entirely silenced, surrendering to authorities without a single shot fired. Later, the rebels would explain that the sight of the brand new gunships arriving scared them into realizing the magnitude of their mistake. This reputation would follow the ship, as it proved useful as a combat deterrent. The crew of another early Perseus, the UPES Arash, was nicknamed the Soothsayers, and wore badges with a hooded faceless wraith clutching a crystal ball, and the slogan, "Never a shot fired, never a battle lost." While records indicate their slogan was not entirely truthful, it did reflect the ship's unique ability to stop conflicts by its presence alone. 2530. Gaia Planet Services attempts to terraform a planet without authorization. While setting up their equipment, they are captured by a strange alien race. This new species released one of the crew, a foreman named Chris Baxter, as a gesture of good faith to return to the UPE. The UPE immediately sent in a fleet, likely vanguarded by Perseuses, to the system. There, they set up a perimeter around the jump point, hoping to discourage these strange new aliens from trying anything violent. There, they began negotiations with the race we now know as the Xi'an. This was the beginnings of the human-Xi'an Cold War, a conflict which saw the Perseus on the front lines. While the ship served with distinction in both Tavaran wars, where it shined was its patrols of the Peri Line. Dispatched as a deterrent to Xi'an aggression, the Perseus proved very capable of its role, as it managed to keep Xi'an probes into the Peri Line to a minimum. However, as time went on, the ship slowly fell out of favor, with a larger and more versatile Aegis Dynamic Idris replacing much of the ship's role as a patrol ship to keep the peace. By 2860, the ship was entirely phased out of production by RSI, with only a handful of aging models still in service with the Navy. That was until the Vanduul attack on Vega 2, the attack that changed everything. In the aftermath of the failed Vanduul invasion of the Vega system, the UEE declared war on the nomadic species, an act that hadn't occurred since the Second Tavaran War over 300 years earlier. This meant that all available ships were mustered towards the Vanduul front, including one aging RSI Perseus, the UEES Achilles. March 2946. Intelligence reports indicated that the Oberon system was under threat as a massive Vanduul clan was planning on invading the system. Admiral Bishop ordered the 65th Battle Group into the system, including the UEE's new kingship killer, the UEES Retribution, and the venerable gunboat, the UEES Achilles. During the ensuing battle, the Achilles threw herself into the teeth of the Vanduul fleet, her sturdy construction and rapid-fire automated defense turrets keeping her in the fight long enough to down 2 Vanduul destroyers, ships 4 times its size, before finally being disabled. The Achilles' final stand helped turn the tide of the battle, and gave victory to the UEE at Oberon. Admiral Bishop was so impressed with the performance of the Perseus that he personally requested RSI update and resume construction of the ship. This resulted in a brand new Project Perseus, a modernized gunboat for both military and civilian use. Built with long-range patrols in mind to help keep the peace on the frontier while the military is off on the Vanduul front, the modern Perseus retains much of its original design, while getting an updated cargo hold large enough to hold an Ursa rover for ground operations. It remains to be seen if this mythic subcap slayer of the 26th century can keep its storied reputation in the 30th. However, it would be unwise to test the terrifying looks and abilities of the storied monster hunter. I want to thank you for coming to my museum. I want to thank my Patreons on screen now for keeping the doors open. If you too want to see more exhibits like this in the future, consider becoming one yourself. Be sure to let me know what you think in the comments below. Join the discussion on our Discord, linked in the description below. And as always, remember, ex Historia ad Astra. There you have it. So if you guys want to watch that again, it'll be available on Monday. So thank you guys for coming and watching for that. But it'll be available on YouTube for everybody on Monday. You don't. I know Aimless. For those of you guys in Australia, it's super late, or super early. But we, it's available on that same day. So, thank you guys. Like a bedtime story. Yeah, there we go. I figured I'd give you guys a little bit of an early sneak peek for coming in and watching this. So in war, the way to avoid what is strong is to strike at what is weak, aka Captain Obvious. Yeah. We got to remember that Sun Tzu was also writing the time period, ancient time period. I don't remember exactly when he was, but I want to say he was pre-Han, though he might have been the Han Dynasty is when he wrote. And a lot of what we understand as Sun Tzu isn't necessarily it may have not been written by Sun Tzu. It was written as maybe just be a collection of works by many people who, as Sun Tzu as the name, you know. That's the question, is we don't know exactly who did it. But the point of The Art of War isn't to teach experienced battlefield commanders how to command battles. It was to teach people who have no idea what they're doing how to fight wars. Because most people don't have experience in wars. At least they didn't have experience in wars up until very, very recently. When you have things like video games, which give you a little bit more, not necessarily realistic application, but at least more challenging. Remember, the tabletop war game didn't even exist until the 19th century. 18th and 19th century. Something like Krieg, I think was the name of it. It was the first ever tabletop game, tabletop war game, and it was made in like the 1800s. So there hasn't even been commercially available like normal war simulations up until the modern day. So think about the context of when Sun Tzu was written. Sun Tzu was written in the time period when your average person didn't have a lot of experience in fights. Like, for instance, same Captain Obvious guy wrote it. Caveman period? No, man. We live in an era where we have so much access to so much information. It's really hard to put yourself into the context of a peasant or a foot soldier, you know? Will the contemporary update to the Perseus retain the heavy armor? Yes, it does. It has heavy armor, but it has slower SCM speed. That's the answer, yeah. Risk is old, but it's not that old. I'll look it up. Kriegspiel, that's what it was called. Okay. Kriegspiel was created in 1824. 1812 was the first created, and then it was perfected in 1824, and then again in 1862. Risk is not that old. Kriegspiel is more of a modern strategy game. More akin to Warhammer, you know, but it's actually more like actual tactical gameplay. No, we're talking about war games, guys. It's different. I mean, a lot of what Sun Tzu goes into in the detail. I don't have my Sun Tzu copy up here. I'll put it downstairs after the video. But a lot of stuff that Sun Tzu talks about is things like, for instance, the best way to fight a war is not to fight one. Exactly, Kilocram. And that's the problem, is that, like, we have access to so much information that things like hit them harder than they can hit you, yeah, that's obvious, but more of don't fight wars unless you have to isn't an obvious one. And with Prince, for instance, which is fucked up, but the point that Machiavelli makes with the Prince is things like, for instance, it's better to be feared than loved, because it feels better to be loved than feared. That's not an obvious thing. And common sense as well is not common, because it underscores a common experience that not everybody has. Culture is different. common sense is different depending on the culture you're in. The best way to fight a war is winning. The best way to win a war is not to fight one. PTU is up. Yes! Thank you guys for watching and hanging out with us here at the Astropub. For you guys watching on YouTube, join us on Twitch. I'm going to call this the office hour stream and move on over to the to PTU. So let's join us. Thank you guys. For those of you on Twitch, hang around. We'll be there shortly. For everybody else, see you in the black.